So we will continue from Canto 1, Chapter 9, Text 19. I just want to make sure that's correct. Yes, that's correct. That's where we ended last time. O King, Lord Shiva, Narada, the sage amongst the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all know very well, confidentially, about his glories through direct contact. What are we talking about? Bhishma Dev is lying on the bed of arrows. He is about to give wisdom to Yudhishthira Maharaj, and all the great sages, including Lord Krishna, has come to witness and give their association to this great Mahajan called Bhishma Dev. So I'm just going back one verse back. This Sri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable original personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayana, the supreme enjoyer, but he is moving amongst the descendants of King Vrishni, just like one of us, and he's bewildering us with his self-created energy. So Bhishma Dev is speaking from realization about Lord Krishna's, being the supreme personality of Godhead in front of him. Then he says, O King, Lord Shiva, Narada, the sage amongst the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all know very well, confidentially, about his glories through direct contact. So not just Bhishma Dev, but she's mentioning Lord Shiva, Narada, and others. So this is how we fact check in the Vedic system. If some person, so-called, man-made God, shows up and says, "I am God, I am Kalki Avatar," we fact check. Does the scriptures talk about his or her advent? Does great sages like Narada, Asita, Devala talk about him as God? Does Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma talk about him? If not, then sorry, buddy, you're not a Kalki. You're not a incarnation of God, right? So this is important that we validate and verify and not accept any Tom, Dick, and Harry as a divine being. Okay, we'll move on to today's verse. Anybody wants to read? Sneha Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I'm traveling, so I'm not able
Oh,
to
no
read.
problem. I'll have somebody else read. No problem.
I can.
Yeah, go ahead, Akshat Prabhu.
Yam manyase matuliyam priyam mitram surtamam akaro sachivam dutam sauradad atha sarathim. Translation. O King, that personality whom out of ignorance only you thought to be your maternal cousin, your very dear friend, well-wisher, counselor, messenger, benefactor, etc., is that very personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. O King, that personality whom out of ignorance only you thought to be your, maternal cousin, your dear friend. So Krishna is all of those things, but he's more. He's God, right? That's what he's saying. Okay, next verse.
Sarvatmana samadrisho hi advayasyannaha nahan krita tat kritam mati vaishamyam niravadasya na kvachit. Translation: being the absolute personality of Godhead, He is present in everyone's heart. He is equally kind to everyone, and He is free from the false ego of differentiation. Therefore, whatever He does is free from material inebriety. He is equibalanced. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is Bhishma Dev, a great personality, talking about Krishna's personality. So this is very interesting, right? Because we want to know how our sweet Lord is. So let's see what Bhishma Dev is saying. Being the absolute personality of Godhead, he's present in everyone's heart. Okay, Paramatma. He's equally kind to everyone and he's free from the false ego of differentiation. So in Krishna's perspective, there is no thing about, judgment, so-called. Oh, so-and-so is intelligent, so-and-so is unintelligent, so-and-so is this, so-and-so is that. But he does differentiate between devotees and non-devotees because somebody has love for Krishna, somebody's love is covered for Krishna. So obviously there is reciprocation in that way, but he doesn't differentiate. So it's important to understand there is simultaneous oneness and difference. There's simultaneously Krishna is equal to all, but at the same time, those who are predisposed to Krishna, Krishna is predisposed to them in sweetness. He reciprocates. And that's again, this should be understood as he doesn't differentiate. So a devotee offers love, Krishna reciprocates with love. A demon offers hatred, Krishna reciprocates with, right? So uh, so he's not differentiating. Like whatever you give, that's what you get, right? Having said that, we have a special place in his heart. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, my devotee stays in my heart and I stay in his heart or her heart. So therefore, whatever he does is free from material inebriety. That means it is fair. It is not unfair. Whatever Krishna does is actually fair. Now, Krishna is the last person we would think for being fair, right? Because right at the right moment, when you think this is the right thing to do, morality and whatnot, Krishna does something slightly different. Whether it's Ashwadhama Hatayati Gaja, whether it's killing Karna when his chariot is stuck, whether it's breaking his promise and picking up weapons for his devotees, you would think that, oh, he is quite the person who you just cannot see him as a moral person, like Lord Ramachandra, Maryada Purushottam. But here, Bhishma Dev is saying that Krishna doesn't have false ego of differentiation. It's free from the false ego differentiation. And therefore, whatever it does is free from material inebriety. Inebriety means unfair or improper things. So it's free from material inebriety that we can do. He is equibalanced. So that is definitely one aspect of God. Now, since we are devotees and we are trying to cultivate the Vrindavan mood, we should also understand God as a person, where given that is his official nature, he also in Vrindavan, when he sees Srimati Radharani, he acts very different. He starts milking bulls, right? He does crazy things. When he sees Radharani, he becomes completely bewildered. There is no equipoised, there is no sense of proper. He just madly in love. So that is also the an aspect of the sweet Lord that Krishna is. So in office, he is proper, he's equipoised, just, and everything else. At home in Vrindavan, Krishna is just Krishna. We were when I was in Vrindavan recently, I just came out of the elevator and there was this wonderful devotee who has been serving Radharaman ji for since 1996. So as soon as I paid my respects to him, some devotees told him that, this person is leading the yatra, and a conversation ensued. And in that conversation, there were a lot of things he was mentioning back and forth. But one thing that came out that I kept on hearing from him, and I heard from his father also when we went to their house for lunch, is that we don't see Krishna as God in Vrindavan. We see Krishna as our, as a child, as a friend, as a this, like his father is a great Goswami, Padmanabh Goswami. He was mentioning, I was like, can you share some of your reciprocation with Radharaman? And he said, oh, we have to sometimes scold him to wear his clothes on time. People are waiting outside because, we're trying to put clothes on him and he just won't wear it. And he takes his time and people are waiting for a long time. The curtains are closed. The whole hall is getting filled. And Radharaman just won't, wear his clothes. So when we scold him, finally he starts wearing it. And then, we can get him his shringar done and then open the curtains. So like that, we don't have a sense of the fact that he's God. We treat him like our own family member. And that's a very Vrindavan mood that you see amongst most Rajvasis and most devotees who stay there. So let's not forget that aspect also, because Bhishma Dev's relationship with Krishna is that of a official form, where there is more, they love fighting with each other, right? Throwing arrows at each other, or political or diplomacy and things like that. That's the relationship. So Bhishma Dev has the Jagannath version, right? Lord of the universe version of Krishna's personality. Um, but we should also remember the Radharani aspect of which we have access to by great fortune. We have access to this. I was We were in Udupi Yatra, I think a year ago, and I was telling my spiritual master that we are very fortunate we are born now and not 1,000 years ago, because we were discussing about Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, who came 1,500 years back. And that time, uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not come yet, and it wasn't much discussed about uh, the Vrajalila, Vrindavan pastimes and Radharani, gopis, and all that, which is very intimate, which depicts Krishna very differently than we know of him as Narayan, right? So I was telling Guru Maharaj that we are very fortunate that we are born now, that we have access to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings and revelations by, great devotees who have shared in details about Radha Krishna's pastimes and Vrindavan Leela and conjugal love of Krishna, that we can see Krishna as a lover. If you ask today any Indian, they will say, when it comes to the epitome of love, it's depicted through Radha and Krishna's love. But that wasn't the case before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. Right? Today we know Krishna as a lover because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he revealed it. Before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, two disciplic successions before him, Madhavendra Puri, uh, he revealed. Uh, he was the first to actually initiate the whole conjugal love of Krishna. This discussion, even this was like everybody was like, "Whoa, what are you doing talking about Krishna's personal life?" Right? But he revealed it because he is a tree under which in Seva Kuj, Radha Krishna does their pastimes, and he gets to witness what's happening. And it's very, very fortunate to hear directly from such a great soul. So I'm just bringing us back to our loving Krishna, not the official Krishna, so that we can compare and contrast both aspects of our sweet Lord. Because sometimes hearing these, we can be a little fearful and feel a little distant from Krishna. But then that's why the reminder that please know we have a VIP access, backdoor access to his bedroom. Uh, we are his family, Achyuta Gotra. Being the absolute personality of Godhead, he's present in everyone's heart. He is equally kind to everyone, and he is free from the false ego of differentiation. Therefore, whatever he does is free from material inebriety. He is equibalanced. Okay, next one. Somebody was read. Tathapi ekanta bhakteshu pasya bhupanukampitam yan me sums त्याज्यतः साक्षा Krishna darshanam agataha. Yet, despite his being equally kind to everyone, he has graciously come before me while I'm ending my life. For I am his unflinching servitor, which I was telling you, like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, devotee stays in the heart. So Bhishma Dev is appreciating that in spite of being equal to all, but he has graciously come so that I can see him while leaving my body. Bhaktya Bhaktya Veshya Mano Yasmin Vachayan Namakirtayan Tyajan Kalevaram Yogi Muchate Kama Karmabhi. The personality of Godhead who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation and by chanting of the holy name releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body. I'll repeat. The personality of Godhead who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation and by chanting of the holy name. How does Krishna appear in the mind? By attentive devotion, meditation, and chanting of the holy name. What happens when Krishna appears in the mind? Releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities, all the karma. At that time, at the time of quitting his material body. So no more birth and death. So this is going back to corroborate Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Yad yad vapi smaran bhavan tyajadyante kalevaram. Right? When you're leaving your kalevar, your body, you're thinking of me. Tat tat evayati kantya sadatat bhava bhavitaha. That whatever you think, that's the destination you reach. And if you think of me, you will attain me. So quitting, so it's very important. Prabhupada would say life is a preparation, death is an examination. Because at the time of death, the ultimate examination is can we remember Krishna? And if you can remember Krishna, life is successful. And we say goodbye to material world, Maya Devi, and we say, here I come, Krishna. And Krishna is waiting with open, stretched arms to hug us back home, back to Godhead. Sadeva Devo Bhagavan Pratikshatam Kalevaram Yavad Idam Hinomi Aham Prasanna Hasaruna Lochano Lasan Mukham Bhujo Dhyana Pathas Chatur Bhujaha. May my Lord, who is four-handed and whose beautifully decorated lotus face, with eyes as red as the rising sun, is smiling, kindly await me at the moment when I quit this material body. So he's requesting Krishna in a very sweet way that may my Lord, who has four-handed form, whose beautifully decorated lotus face with eyes as red as a rising sun is smiling, kindly await me at the moment when I quit this material body. That please wait here till I die, leave this body. Because that's the most important part. Because he wants to speak some things before leaving his body. Sutta Vacha Yudhishtiras Tat Akarniya Sayanam Shara Panjare Aprachad Vividhan Dharman Rishinam Chanusravatam. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Yudhishthir, after hearing Bhishma Deva speak in that appealing tone, asked him, in the presence of all the great rishis, about the essential principles of various religious duties. So we all have clarity that Bhishma Deva is leaving and Yudhishthir Maharaj is transitioning into power. And as he does that, this is where, he's seeking the guidance of his favorite grandfather about religious duties. Now, he's a Dharmaputra. He can say, I know everything. But this is still his humility that he's asking somebody who's dedicated his life to protecting Hastinapur and Bharatvarsha throughout his entire career. At Maharaj Yudhishthir's inquiry, Bhishma Dev first. Oh, sorry, friends. Please, anybody wants to read the Sanskrit or watch me struggle? Please go ahead.
Purusha Swabhava.
You're not unmute.
Purusha Swabhava Vihitam Yatha Varnam Yatha Smaramam Vairagya Rago Vadayibhyam Amnato Bhaya Lakshanam. At Maharaj Yudhishthir's inquiry, Bhishma Deva first defined all the classifications of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualifications. Then he systematically, in twofold divisions, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment.
Thank you so much. At Maharaj Yudhishthir's inquiry, Bhishma Dev first defined all the classifications of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualification. Then he systematically, in two-fold division, described counteractions by detachment and interaction by attachment. So, sociology, right? Caste system is part of the sociology, the categorization of different sections of people. It's important to know that. And we know that it's not by birth, it is by the process of qualification, qualities, psychophysical nature, as we call it. Okay. So in terms of individuals' qualifications, then he systematically in two folds describes now the counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. So when you're detached, how do you act? When you're attached, how do you act? Now, this is very important because this is what we deal with every day. It's very practical information, especially as a leader, as a king. Is my internet not working? Okay. As a king, as a leader, this is something we deal with every day. We have biases, attachments. I was watching this interview of Narendra Modi by Nitin Kamath. Yeah. And I was very surprised by one thing, that this guy does not react. Modi's saying so many emotional things and he has all these, talking about his childhood and this and that. And Nitin Kamath just doesn't react. He doesn't say, wow, really? Nothing like that. It's like, okay, next. And then I was like, let me kind of study this guy. And then I came across one of his interviews where he says, I'm not emotional at all. I have cried only 5 times in my life. And that is why I have done well in business. And that is why I choose not to get married or have kids, because I am not emotional and my judgment is very good. And as a result, I'm able to do it. Now, that is very rare and one way of dealing with it without Krishna consciousness, right? Having that kind of, it's a gift, what he has, but it's also comes with its baggage where you can't connect with people emotionally. And I don't know, I feel it's too dry. I like Krishna consciousness because it's not dry. I grew up in whole Ramakrishna mission environment where it's all about giving up and giving up and giving up, and it's stone-hearted. I feel, right? Mayavadi impersonalism. It's like God is energy. Like what? What do I do with energy? But God is somebody I can feed. God is somebody I can dress. God is somebody I can talk to. God is somebody I can hold hands and walk with. Right? That God I like. That's the kind of bhakti, devotional life that I really enjoy. And that's the juicy part, right? Having said that, Krishna consciousness allows us, this juicy, relationship oriented, what we call rasa oriented lifestyle and thought process. And that's who we are, very soft, sweet personalities. That's what Krishna's devotees are. Having said that, we are also given the privilege of detachment, where we can do all this without getting attached. All this I just talked about relationship. The biggest problem with the relationship is attachment. Because the moment you get attached, you have expectations of them acting in a certain way. And when it doesn't happen, you are the one who's suffering. You are the one who's getting frustrated. You are the one who's like, oh God, why did this person not act, not smile, not do it, not give me a gift back, not da, 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 da. Who's suffering? We are. So attachment, expectation, suffering is a guaranteed formula. Now, Krishna consciousness allows us to attach ourselves to that which is spiritual, Krishna, Krishna's representatives. And that detachment from Maya naturally comes. Now, what does detachment from Maya mean? We just read Queen Kunti's prayers. What did she say? Take away the material attachment I have for my relatives, right? The Kurus and the Vrishnis. What is not being taken away is her motherly affection for her children. But the material affection that these are my children, that's why I love them. That is material. But loving anyone, because this is a soul gifted to me by Krishna, that's different. You can be a mother for a million people that way, if we can think like that, right? Like I was hearing the Bishnoi community, if a baby fawn loses its mother, the the human mother actually takes care of the baby fawn and feeds it milk from her own breast. Like you can do that when you don't see it in form of my child, somebody else's child, right? Now, the detachment here is on a much higher level, spiritual connection. The connection is I care for you because you're part of Krishna. As simple as that, right? That means your ability to love just goes up, I mean, infinitely, right? Just like you care for demigods, you care for an ant, you care for a beggar, you care for a CEO, you care for a terrorist, even you care for the worst of people and the best of people. Because you're attached to Krishna and you see Krishna inside every one of those personalities. That's where the care is coming from. And there you don't have expectation from them because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it because Krishna is inside. So your attachment is to Krishna and Krishna is not stone. He reciprocates. So it's all taken care of, right? The problem happens when we have the attachment and the expectation from the person. So Krishna consciousness allows us the very beautiful rasas, mellows of relationship, the juicy interaction of give and take, love and trust, sharing of hearts, receiving guidance without Prabhu, you didn't smile at me. You didn't smile at me, okay, so what? Right? Prabhu, you didn't do this for me when I was sick. When you were sick, I did that for you. But in a detached relationship, no, okay, I did my thing because I wanted to. It's my duty. It's my love for that person. Yeah, there's no condition. There is no expectation. If something comes back, oh, wonderful. Doesn't come back, who cares? That's not stone-hearted. That is detached. That is means amanina manadena. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Give respect, don't expect respect. So expectation isn't there, giving is there. And giving is part of that love. When can you give love? When you receive love, right? You're receiving so much from Krishna and his representatives and his wonderful devotees and his scriptures and all the gift that Srila Prabhupada has left for us that you feel nourished from within. And then you see somebody who's getting completely charred by the heat of material life. And you say, let me also massage this person with a little bit of nourishment from Krishna consciousness, right? So, so that's where devotees come from. Devotees are filled with love because they're receiving it. And when they see somebody who's dried in the forest fire of material existence, they just want to hug them and give them that Krishna consciousness. And they don't lose anything. It only grows. When you give, this is one thing. When you give, it grows. When I was a kid, my mother would say, when you give knowledge, it grows. Same is true for bhakti. When you give bhakti, it grows, right? So in our little capacity, whatever it is, right? Try and see of giving some prasadam, giving some appreciation for our Philosophy Friday learnings that we have, right? Something about Krishna or the holy name or a bead or some devotional gifts. Give Krishna to someone and you will see your bhakti grows. And it's a hack, right? Bhakti grows by giving. Knowledge grows by giving. You share Bhagavad Gita, you share Bhagavatam, your realizations will be coming more and more deeply. Okay. Okay. Moving on to the next verse. Someone wants to read?
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'll read.
Yes.
धर्मार्थ काम मोक्षं सहोपायान यथा मुने नानख्यनेथिदादेषु वर्णयाम अस तत्तवेत्. Translation. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truth. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can you go on to the next verse also? Read that.
Yeah, 1 minute. धर्मां प्रवर्ततस्स्य साकल प्रत्युपस्थिता यो योगिनश्चन्द्रमृत्युर्वञ्चितास्तुतरायण. Translation. While Bhishma Dev was describing occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will.
Okay, next.
One minute. Tadopasamhritya girha सहस्रनेर विमुक्त संगम मन आदि पुरुषे कृष्णे लसत पितापते चतुर्भुजे पुरः स्थिते मिलिता दृग्व्यधाधरायत. Translation. Thereupon that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meetings and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men stopped speaking, and being completely freed from bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Wow. Okay. I'll just quickly go back to reading the previous few verses together. So at Maharaj Yudhishthir's inquiry, Bhishma Dev first defined all the classifications of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualification. Then he systematically in twofold divisions described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. He then explained by division acts of charity, the pragmatic acts of a king, and activities of salvation. Then he described the duties of women and devotees, both briefly and extensively. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truth. While Bhishma was describing occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will. So in Bhagavad Gita, I think something like this was mentioned at the time of death, when is the right time to die. But here also, because Bhishma Dev has the blessing, the vardhan of dying when he desires, dying at will. So this time is very auspicious, and this is when he wants to leave his body. So so he spoke about these wonderful things that a leader needs to know. And then he realized it's time. And thereupon he started meditating on the personality of Godhead. And it's being beautifully described. Thereupon, the man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings. This is a sign of scholarly nature, like Lord Chaitanya. He would take one verse and give it 64 different meanings out of it, right? 128, or depending on who he's arguing with or debating with, Mahaprabhu could do, because that shows great level of scholarship. Yes, Snehal Mataji? Sneha Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Pradeep here.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, Bhishma Devi is saying about occupational
Where are you going?
duties. I'm traveling from Pune to Ichalganji.
Okay. Please tell me.
So Bhishma Devi is saying about occupational duties,
Uh-huh.
and he's saying that these classifications are not by birth, but he himself recognized Yudhishthir as means he supported Yudhishthir. Sorry, Duryodhan. He supported Duryodhan. So this seems to be conflicting.
He supported Duryodhan because he was being maintained by Duryodhan. Duryodhan's leadership as a king. He was, that's why he
But he
didn't support.
recognized him as a king.
Hmm?
But he recognized him as a king.
Well, Duryodhan was crowned as a king, legally so. Of course, he did his trickery to get the Pandavas out, on a dice game and everything. But then Duryodhan was the king of Hastinapur, and Bhishma Dev had taken the vow to protect Hastinapur's king, whoever is the king. So it was, now from his perspective, it was his religious duty to protect the king and be on the side of the king and not be on the other side, even though the other side was where his heart was, right? So he was doing his duty and keeping his promise, because understand, he's bound by his promise. He is leaving his body because of his promise, right? The whole thing about not marrying anyone and then holding the hands of Ambalika and all those three women and all that. So he is very much a person who holds his promise very carefully. So he made a promise that he will protect the ruler of Hastinapur, come what may, and that he will never have children so that his children can't claim the throne. That's what the promise he gave to his father's girlfriend.
So
What should I say? Father's second wife or stepmother. Yeah. So he was
so
his bargain.
so you mean to say Bhishma Dev was very well known that these occupational duties, varna, what we call as varna, are not by birth, but yet he recognized Duryodhan, although he know that he has less Kshatriya qualities in himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Bahubali, Katappa, right? He knew that fellow,
Ah,
that king is, he's not qualified, he's not the right person, but then he took the vow to protect the king, and he did that. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a parallel here, but same thing, Bhishmadev was doing that. He was protecting the king of Hastinapur. His life was dedicated to protecting Hastinapur.
so who what we will say that Bhishma Dev has more of Brahminical qualities like keeping a vow or like this. No, he is Kshatriya.
I'm not understanding. Kshatriya.
Actually, means he is following his dharma. So whoever is following his dharma, no, it's okay, Prabhuji. I
Following
got it.
his following is Kshatriya Dharma, right?
Yes.
Like Kshatriyas would end the war at the sunset, right? And start the war at sunrise and things like that, following rules and regulations. He was following a Kshatriya Dharma. Now, I can't comment if he's Brahminical or whatnot. Of course, he's a Mahajana. He's more than a Brahmana, right? He's a devotee of Krishna. He's a great devotee of Krishna. So he's a Kshatriya by profession, but he's also a great devotee of Krishna. That Krishna's personally present when he's leaving his body. I mean, imagine the kind of honor that is. Krishna has come to him, right? To give
Yes,
darshan
rightly
when
said,
he's leaving
Prabhuji.
his body.
Rightly said. I just want to understand in what circumstances he is supporting Duryodhana.
Yeah, it was just that the throne of whoever sits on that throne, he took the vow to protect the throne, the king.
Okay.
And he tried many times telling Duryodhana, this is not the right thing. Don't fight. Just give them 5 villages. They'll be happy. Why aren't you listening? Right? He did his part as advisor, but he's subservient to the throne. And that's what he did. That was his duty.
Yep.
That's at least my understanding. Okay. Thereupon, the man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings, who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men, stopped speaking and being completely freed from all the bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else. Try doing that sometimes. It's a very powerful exercise. When I was in Chicago, a Mayavadi friend of mine, Vivek, I mentioned him quite a few times. We were very close friends, although he was always poking me on questions that I would just not be able to answer. And that's how I have all these answers. So one time we went to this Museum of Science and Industries, and there was this little ball, and there was this headgear. You put it on your head, and it based on your brain energy, brain waves, right? You could control the ball. So the more calm you are, the more you can withdraw yourself, the ball will move towards you. So he sat on one side, I sat on the other side. And he's like, oh, I'll win this one because I can focus on Brahma Jyoti. And I'm like, I'll win this one because I can focus on Krishna's lotus feet. So we were both meditating and I won. And then it was a great experience, just withdrawing your mind from everything, all the cacophony, all the children crying and this, that. You're sitting in the museum, with this thing on your head and really kind of withdrawing everything and focusing on one thing, the holy name or Krishna's lotus feet or something. And just, it's a great, experience to do that. And I'm grateful that I could always show him that Krishna consciousness is higher than my other philosophy. In fact, I made him chant for quite a long time. He promised me he will chant, and he did till he had an accident, and then he stopped. But anyway, point is, right? This is something that devotees are gifted with. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, like a tortoise is able to, when there's danger, it's able to withdraw its limbs into the shell, right? So can a yogi withdraw all the senses when there is stimulation outside. So when there is stimulation coming, there is Maya Devi with her, seductive dance. Not literally her, but her energies are around you. Withdrawing the mind is a very powerful thing that devotees have in their treasure trove. And especially what to speak of when the time of death comes, rather than thinking this and that, suddenly you have to focus, Krishna, 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 right? Withdraw his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of God. It was standing right there, Shri Krishna, who stood before him, four-handed, because he wanted Krishna to be four-handed. Krishna is four-handed for him, right? Dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. Just a side note, as we're talking about Krishna's garments and clothes. Did you know that Krishna's garments are also conscious? His jewelry is also conscious. They talk to each other. Like the dhoti talks to the flute, like, you're so fortunate you're at Krishna's lips. The flute tells the dhoti, oh, but you're at his lotus feet. You're fortunate too. Like that. So Krishna is fully spiritual and his weapons are conscious, his clothes are conscious. It's just unthinkable. This is God. So it's important when people just make him into a human thing. We should understand, and as devotees, this yellow dhoti or his jewelry, and he doesn't need things to look pretty. He's the source of all beauty. But they look pretty by being on his body, and they are actually devotees of Krishna. In Tamil Nadu, the Alvars are very popular, the great saints who are considered the incarnation of the weapons of Lord Vishnu, right? The weapons are conscious. So Sudarshan Chakra, we know about Sudarshan Chakra, conscious personality, devotee of Krishna. Now, when we go to Govardhan Hill and we, hug the, stone, and people say, "Oh, look at these people, so foolish stone." But Govardhan, not different from Krishna. So, like that, Krishna and Krishna's conscious, supreme spiritual. Spirituality means consciousness, right? Material means dull. So, as they're describing Krishna's dhoti and his jewelry and everything's glittering, I'm just appreciating that these are also conscious. And in fact, the dust of Vrindavan is also conscious, right? Every speck of dust is conscious. I just had to kind of go in a different direction. We are back again. All right. So by pure meditation, looking at Lord Krishna, he at once freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains because he was lying on a bed of arrows caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendently to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body. What a glorious death. Somebody also read the translation. Aparna, would you like to read the translation? Sorry, the Sanskrit and the translation.
Text 31. Vishuddhaya dharana hatashubhastad iksaya vasukata yuddhasmaha nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas tustava janyam visharjan janardhanam. Translation. By pure meditation, looking at Lord Krishna, he at once was freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendentally to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body.
Thank you very much. Now let's give you the opposite effect. The scriptures describe that when one is leaving their body and the soul is leaving the body, right? Because we are so attached to the body, materialist people. Uh, uh, when the attachment is so strong that leaving the body feels like we are being bitten by millions of scorpions. Like it's so painful. That is the hardest part. So death is very painful for those who are not devotees. But for devotees, just see how it is, right? Even though he's lying on a bed of arrows, all the pain slowly, slowly diminishes as he's meditating on the Supreme Person of Godhead and sees the Lord and leaves his body. Many of our devotees, when leaving their body, they put a picture of Krishna or something, that they can meditate upon the Supreme Lord and leave their body. And great devotees have, darshan of great personalities like Tulsi Devi or Srila Prabhupada or their own guru or Krishna himself sometimes. And people have witnessed such things happening. The last moments are very, very powerful for devotees. Very auspicious, in fact, to witness, to be there, to just know that Krishna's in the room, right? Wow. Or Krishna's pure devotees in the room, taking this devotee from material world to spiritual world. So for us, death is a joyful event. If you think, of course, there is separation, feelings of separation, but it's not that crippling effect that one has, like, oh, we have no idea where this person is. This person ceases to exist. No, they don't cease to exist. As devotees, we know they are being taken personally care of by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his entourage, right? So it's a great privilege to be devotee because that's the privilege we get, right? Krishna's personal attention. And Bhishma Dev still speaks. Okay, somebody also read next verse.
Shri Bhishma Uvacha Iti matir upakalpita vitrishna bhagavati satvata pungave vibhumi swasukham upagate vachid vihartum prakritim upesu yad bhava bhavaha. Translation. Bhishma Deva said, let me now invest my thinking, feeling and willing, which was so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all-powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although from him only the material world is created.
Thank you very much. Bhishma Dev, now, fully meditating on, his mind senses everything focused on Krishna, is speaking. Let me now invest my thinking, feeling, willing. Why is he speaking like that? Because he is setting an example, right? It says Mahajana Gatanu Pantha, that we follow on the footsteps of great devotees. So being a Mahajana, he's paving the path. So he's actually documenting his path of leaving his body. So for us to follow. So he's saying, now let me, he's doing that anyway, thinking, feeling, willing, investing in Krishna. But he's speaking it loud so we can hear. Let me now invest my thinking, feeling, willing, which was so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all-powerful Lord Shri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied. But sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world. Although from him only the material world is created. Okay, next verse.
Tribhuvana Kamanam Tamalvarnam Ravikara Gauravara Ambaram Dadhane Vapur Alaka Kulavvritanan Vritanan Bhajam Vijaya Sakhe Ratir Astume Navadya. Sri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the tamala tree. His body attracts everyone in the three planetary systems, upper, middle, lower. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face, covered with paintings of sandalwood pulp, be the object of my attraction, and may I also desire fruited results.
Thank you. So just meditate on the fact that he is seeing Krishna's face while saying this, right? So we are hearing first person account of Bhishma Dev looking at Krishna's face and describing it, right? Shri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in this transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the tamal tree. His body attracts everyone in the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. So attractive, is all attractive Krishna. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face, covered with paintings of sandalwood pulp, be the object of my attraction, and may I not desire fruitive results. No more birth and death. Right? That's our goal as well. Now we might think, oh, Bhishma Dev, he's a Mahajan. He could think like that. Can we? Well, that's where Krishna's mercy. Our 1%, Krishna's 99%. Our 1% is the desire. Yes, I also want to think of Krishna. My mind fixed upon Krishna's lotus feet. Want to leave my body and go back to Krishna. The desire, the sincere desire. If that is there, the 99% is enacted by Krishna himself. Krishna says in the Bhagavatam itself that even at the time of death, you're not able to remember me, and you're my devotee and you've served me, right? I will inject myself into your consciousness and remind you of me. So even that Krishna is doing. So we don't have to worry. Bhishma Deva is a great personality. He can, for us, Krishna knows we are feeble souls. So for us, Krishna is personally there to spoon feed us himself into our consciousness so we can remember him and come back to him. So that's our shelter that Krishna understands, and Krishna is there for us. It can feel overwhelming, like, oh, can we, reach that mark of Bhishma Dev? But that's pretty high. Yes, Chandra Mataji. Maybe we'll end with the previous
Krishna
one.
Prabhuji.
Hmm.
Prabhuji, I'm finding it a bit difficult to understand one point. Bhishma Dev is such a great devotee,
Hmm.
but till the last breath, he's not the last breath, but he stayed attached to his oath, which is not very spiritual, but he stayed attached. So, being a Mahajan, it seems a bit of, wrong example to side with the uh, wrong party just because of the oath, where he is aware that Krishna is on the other side. Like, I'm finding it a bit difficult,
Yeah.
like how to.
So we should understand that this is Leela, and Krishna has orchestrated all of this himself. So it was Krishna only, that created the situation where Bhishma Dev took the vow, and it's all arranged by Supreme Lord's supreme will, because we are witnessing Krishna Leela. So everything is arranged by Krishna, very particularly for us to see. Now we should not think of them as, oh, how could you be like that? Even I, as a devotee, am not so attached to my, it's not that. He's playing his role in Krishna Leela to show, what to be, what not to be, right? Karna, sided with Duryodhana. Karna is at his level. Bhishma Dev, how could he be like that? Well, sometimes that happens. And you pay for that, right? He was lying on a bed of arrows for a long time. That's how he paid for his being attached to the vow. But then Yudhishthira Maharaj also we see attached to the idea of not lying, even though Krishna is Sarvatra Sakshat Bhagavad Pranita. So did they not read Bhagavatam? Well, they are in Bhagavatam, so they're very special. They know all that, but they're playing a role in this for us to learn from their examples. That's how we should understand it. And
Okay,
often Krishna puts them in a particular Maya where they can act out their role, even though they know what they're supposed to do. But they act out their role because Krishna puts them in, because they are surrendered to Krishna. That Krishna, you can do whatever you want with me. So for Lok Shikha, for teaching the masses, Krishna utilizes his pure devotees as an example to showcase for us, so we can learn how not to be or how to be.
Yeah, because for him also it would be so difficult to stay rival to Krishna, even though he knows everything. So,
Yeah, his heart is there only on the other side. And Duryodhana keeps telling that you're on their side only. You're just with me for dharmic reasons, but your heart is there. He's like, absolutely, they are my favorite. There's no question. There's no denying it. But I'm doing the right thing, and I will hold on to my dharma, my promise. Because that's who I am. I'm doing the right thing, right? So that's also a greatness to know that certain times your emotions are on the other side, but that you do the right thing as a matter of duty. Let's say you're a judge and you're dealing with a situation. Now, what do, right? When you're a judge or a prime minister or a chief minister or a king or a leader or a father or a mother, right? Sometimes you have to chastise your son or daughter. You don't want to, but if you don't, then my son might become a thief, like Mother Yashoda thought, right? So she didn't want to chase Krishna with a stick. She had to. She did it out of duty. So
got you,
love comes
Prabhuji.
in many
Thank
forms.
you.
Does it clarify?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Can I ask? Yeah, I got unmuted. Ask.
Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So what I wanted to understand that as you are speaking about the examples, like Yudhishthira Maharaj decided to not lie, even though Krishna was there, and what Krishna says, that is the greatest dharma, but he did the right thing according to him. And same goes for Bhishma Dev. And we can see that they both also struggled, like Bhishma Dev leaving his body, on a bed of arrows, or Yudhishthir Maharaj had to suffer, go through hell for a little bit. So for us, when these kinds of situations, if it arise, I don't know, what form it will arise, but then what learning they are giving, because they're playing a role. So what learning is for us, that if something is some instruction is given by Krishna's representative or Krishna himself, which will not be happening to us, but then Krishna's representatives or our gurujans, mentors, and there is something that I made a promise or something, I need to do, what is to be done by us at our level, what kind
So
of learning
when
is there?
that situation arises, get Vaishnava guidance. Uh, first of all. Second of all, Krishna won't take that freedom with us to show others, most of us. Right? Because these are such personalities that Krishna uses them to show, that this is how you face if you do this and do that. With us, that's not going to be the case, and our tests are not that hard. And whatever little bit things that happen, that's why we have our disciplic succession to guide us through that particular situation as we go through Dharma Sankat, duality dilemma, and things like that.
So guidance is that.
Guidance is the answer. There's no one size fits all.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. See you next Friday.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.